Hello everyone, and welcome to our show, Spiritual States, and today our topic is fate, and with us is Dr. Michael Laitman. So, first of all, I'll define what fate is. Fate is the sum total of all events and circumstances which are predetermined and first and foremost influence either the person himself or an entire nation. The sum total, no, I disagree with this definition, because you can't just say that you can't just say that fate is the sum total of all the different circumstances and events. Fate is what goes on in our feelings, life, conditions, and as a result of how nature works on us, or the Creator, which is one and the same, and how do we interact with that nature or the Creator. There are three main characteristics of fate. This is what I found on the internet. It's total, unknown, and independent of human will. Do you agree? No. I disagree. Okay, total. Well, yeah, there's particular fate, general fate, total too. Unknown? No. We can discover, come to know our fate and control it. And that it is independent of man? No, by no means. It's dependent on us and we can control it. Of course, if we wish to. If we put in enough efforts and quantity and quality, then we can both control it and come to know it. It's all in our hands. If we look at history, at the culture of different nations, then fate, the characteristics of fate is, let's say, it's negative. It's dim. Of course, there's nothing good in corporeal fate that ever happened to any nation, you might say. Yeah, that it's blind, that it has no mercy, that this is what we say because we simply don't understand the essence, the purpose, the essence and the purpose actually. The prophets in Jewish religion don't write anything good either. Well, it depends on how you look at it and in relation to who is it written. But actually, man's or humanity's fate depends on the person himself, and you can't say anything about some, what would you add that it's controllable? By the way, from more ancient sources about what fate is, so it's written in the Sumerian texts from about 3,000 or more years ago. And there, for the first time, appears a positive recollection of fate, where it says that it is a demand to completely be as your essence. I don't exactly know what it means, but it was positive. So, going back to our time, most physicists agree that a person has no free choice. The entire process of development is predetermined, and the only difference is that the Kabbalists, they say that this development has a purpose. And physicists say that it all happened by chance, but the entire process of development is predetermined. There's no free choice from the point of view of physics. The question is, why does a person have this 100% illusion of freedom of choice? This is how a person feels. Man is a feeling element in nature, but man has the ability to also attain this and also control it. So, internally, regardless of physicists or philosophers or whoever, a person disagrees with anyone being in control of him. That's probably why all wars throughout history were for freedom. Well, yeah, actually, yes, this is the basis of perceiving the world. So a person wants to feel free, otherwise he doesn't feel as a human being. Obviously, from the point of view of physics, everything that a person thinks, does, it's all predetermined, as they say, from the very start, from the Big Bang. So we need to calmly sit and do nothing. Well, physicists, they don't deal with the question of what to do or not to do. They say that that's how it is, that everything's predetermined. And Kabbalah says, no, everything's predetermined on the one hand, meaning that the will of nature is imposed on completely everything. And on the other hand, man was given the opportunity to resolve his fate on his own. Who resolves man's fate? In your blog, it says that fate depends on man's root of the soul. Even the Creator does not determine it, meaning this is how it's written in the soul of the root, in the root of the soul. What is that? It means that there are initial givens in a person's, and he has to realize them. And these givens, initial givens, so-called Reshimot, they force a person to realize themselves and lead him to the perfect and whole state. And the only thing that depends on a person is the time of his existence on that path, more quickly, more comfortably, or through suffering. So you're saying that fate is predetermined, but how will we go through, or how will we feel, how quickly will we go through these states, or how will we feel going through them? This depends on a person, but everything else is predetermined. Yes, the question is how to accept, how to relate to the predetermined path of our existence, how to grasp, perceive it, and what is the best way to realize it. So I only change my reaction. Yeah, but it means a lot. Because according to our reaction, we influence the upper force. For better or for worse. Well, I was watching the news. Well, it's not news, but everyone's talking about the Third World War, that it's inevitable. And by the way, Bala Sulami wrote about this, about the Third and Fourth World Wars. So if this is how it is in nature, that the Third World War needs to appear, then what? I will only be able to change. I can't change the events themselves. This is how it's predetermined, but only my attitude toward them. No. We can change absolutely everything. Everything that's written can be completely changed from beginning to end. Meaning, even in matter and corporeal life, these events can change. Of course. Okay, that's because sometimes you say that a person can only change his attitude. His attitude is changing his fate. Yeah, but that this war will happen and I'll simply justify it, that it's good for my development, or it won't be. Or it won't be. That's correct. The entire spectrum of options is in front of you. You're saying that fate is that which is predetermined for man by nature if he will develop in a natural way. So it says, so the prophets write that if a person will naturally develop in his ego, but in order to control fate, I heard you say that one has to rise above his ego, and only there's something higher where you have free choice. To the measure to which we rise above our own ego, we enter completely different states, a different interaction with nature or the Creator, which is one and the same, and then we feel our interaction with nature in a completely different way. as a two-way channel, good, bad, etc., we start understanding how everything's built. We ourselves can pull the threads. There's the law of mutual responsibility, says a lot about it in the wisdom of Kabbalah, and you said that anyone can change, because we're all interconnected, that any person can change the fate of another person, but can never change his own fate. Meaning, if I wish to change my fate, I need to change my environment. It's interesting. How does that happen? How can I intervene in the fate of another person? Is it possible? By giving them an example. That's the most important and influential thing, which is to show a person an example of the right, proper behavior in accordance with the laws of nature. Meaning, how is it possible to unite, to approach others, to interact with others? How is it possible to change our attitude toward the Creator, towards His governance? Our entire future depends on that, the near future and the distant future, global future. What law of nature are we talking about here? Absolute connection of love with everyone. So, since nature forces all elements to unite, connect, there are even such periods in cosmology, the period of the great unification, where all elements started uniting and more complex matter started forming. So, accordingly, also people need to unite, and that's called love. Yeah? And then we'll get some kind of new essence, complete support of one another, where we create such conditions between us that never existed before, that appear precisely from our open aspiration for one another. Well, we understand that when we take, suppose, hydrogen and oxygen as two elements, but when we unite them, when they unite, we get water, something completely different. So what's supposed to happen when people will emotionally unite? They will complete each other up to the point of uniting into one single system called the one soul, or Adam, and in that state, they will completely include within themselves the quality of the Creator. So I understand that only achieving this state, only there's their freedom of will. No, freedom of will we have from the very start of the path, when we choose that we will follow this path. So from your books, I understand that only choosing this path, feeling this one soul, there man has choice, and not in our, in our corporeal existence we have no choice. Look, choice is a result of what we choose in relation to our attitude or our relations with the Creator. So I understand that we can hasten our spiritual development. Can we also influence our corporeal existence? No, it can only be as a result of spiritual, a projection of the spiritual. So through the spiritual, I can influence what goes on in the corporeal world. Yes, for the better and for the worse. Why does nature hide information about the future from us? Why was it always, to create an illusion of freedom of choice in us? That's why it says that it's forbidden to tell the future. Tell the future, all this. We don't need any of these things. We need to simply realize the rules, laws of nearing, coming closer to each other according to the laws of nature. So why do some people get the ability to do it? They simply have different souls than others. We all, what tells us apart are our souls. Bodies, oh well. But the souls, they're different. There are more developed souls, less developed souls, more shattered, less shattered, etc., etc. But still, if nature's wise and it wishes to preserve the illusion of freedom of choice, why are we given this ability to tell the future, etc.? No. That's nonsense. This is not what we were talking about. We said that different souls have different paths towards the final goal in order to reach the quality of bestowal, connection with others, different ways, because they have different foundations by nature. Yeah, but there are people that can tell the future. Why does nature give them such an ability? I'm not familiar with such people. Never saw them. Well, you told us about Wolf Messing, Nostradamus. Well, these are special people, special sensing people, or especially sensitive people, but there's nothing special about it. What is someone who can tell the future? It's a person that simply sees a bit further than ordinary people. So a grown-up in relation to a child can also, as if tell the future. He can tell a child in advance what will happen as a result of what he does. So how is it possible to foretell the future if it depends on the actions of people? If previously we said that everything depends on man, that we can change our future. On our level, everything depends on man. On a higher level, nothing depends on man. And it's no contradiction. It is as real as, grown up and a child. I heard you say that previously, where there were fewer people that had freedom of choice, that wanted to unite, etc., and reveal the upper force, and therefore it was possible to predict how will humanity develop. But today, where millions of people have this opportunity, then it's no longer possible to foretell the future because these millions build the future. No. The millions that build the future create it. They too do not control or govern anything. They only they are under the control of the law of nature of love another as yourself. Well, we said that it's predetermined that there needs to be a third world war, and suppose 1 million people today somehow start uniting and coming to the goal, the purpose of creation, revealing it. Then this way we change this future. Well, if we can say that we change it, because this isn't what I meant. That's why I'm sorry, but you didn't properly understand me. What does it mean that we change? We invert that future from a bad to a good path. Is it worthwhile asking the Creator to change my fate? I heard you say that if a person asks him for himself, he harms his soul, so is it worthwhile doing? No. What for? Do what you're supposed to do. Try and do it better and better, and then the Creator, He'll change everything to the measure to which you're trying to realize His rules. He will realize yours. Do the stars influence our fate because we're made of the same material? Because if so, then, it's good to study cosmology, astrology, in order to influence your fate somehow. No. No point. Don't try to tell the future, and the stars don't say anything. We need to very correctly relate to our life. Aside from coming closer with others, besides learning how to correctly treat each other according to spiritual laws, the laws of friendship, connection, nothing else will help us ease our path, prevent world war, etc., etc. Is it not logical that if we live in a certain realm called nature, the universe, that's made of the same matter, obviously it influences us somehow. It influences our body, our way of thinking. Yeah, but the main thing is the soul, and this is a part of the upper from above. It's part of the Creator in us that's called soul. And it doesn't change and goes. It's unrelated to the changes and metamorphoses that occur in our world. What are the conditions where a person can really choose freely? Because if we're in our egoistic nature, then obviously we can't choose. But if we're in the altruistic nature of the Creator, there's no choice either. So can you describe the conditions where a person chooses in between the two? Precisely in our time, where we know what is good and what is bad in the eyes of the Creator, in the eyes of the absolute law of creation. It's mutual help, connection, up to the point of love. Love is simply connection for the sake of the other. Then nothing can be terrible, we can't do anything bad, and we will advance as quickly as possible in a short path, meaning to our best possible state of complete correction. So were I to choose to be in the qualities of the Creator, because I know what that is, and I choose to be in that, I acquire these qualities, I'm under His control? No, not under His control, but under the control of your qualities. You're taking His nature. And then it becomes your nature, meaning you're no longer under His rule or control, but under your own. And precisely in that case, do you have your own domain, and you can realize yourself. So my egoistic nature remains. I also take His nature, and with the help of the altruistic nature of the Creator, you control your egoistic nature, and that way you exist eternally in the best possible state. Okay, last question. So, to control fate means to rise above your ego. In order to rise above your ego, it's necessary, you need a group in which a person unites with others, because rising above the ego is something that I can't do by myself, right? I need others that think like me, that we give each other an example, those that I unite with. So to rise above the ego, it equals uniting with others. Yeah. And that's the best way to come out of the ego. Sure. Why is there freedom of choice in that precisely? Because you're free of your own ego. Freedom isn't just, freedom, it's where you, on the one hand, feel that your ego is holding you by the feet, not allowing you to detach from the ground. On the other hand, you have forces that tear you off this ego, and you exist in between the two. And by that, you all the time control this. That's freedom. Because otherwise, you won't feel freedom either. If you detach from your ego, it is necessary for you in order to feel that you have detached from it. Okay, no more questions. Everything's clear. Any wishes? Good luck to all of us in that. That will be free. Thank you. All the best.